Sometimes we can feel like we're all alone and nothing we do matters. If you're prone to that kind of thinking, then I'm going to invite you to consider something else. Every day, whether we intend to or not, we're affecting the lives of others. How? I'm glad you asked. I'm Dr. Tina. I'm a holistic brain health practitioner at Lifelong Enerjoy, and today I'm going to be sharing with you 4 ways that your life is meaningful, whether you intend it to or not. The first way is through our buying habits. Now, in our capitalistic democracy, we have a vast amount of choices in terms of what we choose to get. And we can choose to buy products by companies that are socially responsible or not. For example, I'm very passionate about slavery, and it is rampant in the chocolate industry and in coffee. For example, with chocolate, the young children, ages about 12 to 16, that's most kids, and there are kids as young as age 5, are sold by their families who are stricken with poverty into these conditions. Now they're fooled, so they don't know what they're what their children are destined for. But they end up in these conditions where they're basically given less than $2 a day, which is even poverty standards in West Africa. They work from 6 a.m. till the evening. They use heavy machinery such as chainsaws and machetes, and they're climbing trees with it. They use agriculture chemicals with no protection. They're fed corn paste and bananas, sleep on wooden planks, don't get to go to school. At least 40%, only 40% do. And these farms supply Hershey's, Mars, and Nestle. Now you do have choices though. You don't have to buy such chocolate. In contrast, you can buy chocolate from companies whose mission is to provide fair wages and a good income to everyone on the farm, factory workers, and do it sustainably. It's called fair trade, and then you can also get organic. My favorite company is Theo, and they happen to be in Seattle. And I highly recommend visiting their tour if you come to Seattle. They have tons of free samples, and you also get to learn about the industry. Now, if you're in the Seattle area, I also recommend a store called Purpose Boutique. I recently discovered them, and I was so excited to hear about a store that raises awareness about sex trafficking. It sells products created by survivors of trafficking, and it donates 10% of their income to rescuefreedom.org. There's a story behind every purchase we make. Annie Leonard does a fabulous job of quickly educating us about the electronics industry, bottled water, cosmetics, and more with her free videos. You gotta check it out at thestoryofstuff.org. It can be overwhelming to examine every purchase we make, but luckily there's an app called Buycott, Buycott, that makes it a lot easier. They've done the research, and all we need to do is scan the barcode, and then they tell us whether the product is in alignment with our concerns. Now, if you have a lot of passions like me, I recommend starting with one so that you don't get overwhelmed. And then if you need to start with, say, chocolate or your coffee or one product, start that way. Start with little baby steps, and once they feel easy, then add on more. Every purchase we make is a vote for the type of world we want to live in. We must choose wisely. The second way that our lives are already meaningful is in how we treat others. Now, whether we're watching TV or if we're in a group of 3 or more, we're always observing how the world responds to our own and others' actions. And how others respond subtly influences our future choices. So for example, if a kid goes to school and shoots other kids in school, and this rampage gets a lot of publicity, then other troubled boys are going to model such behavior. And similarly, a leader who exhibits cruelty or is corrupt and gets away with such behavior gives us unconscious permission to imitate such behavior. And now, while cruelty and violence and immoral behavior are contagious, so is kindness. A leader with integrity who stands up for his people who don't have a voice can exert a positive influence on our behavior. And they give us examples about how to get our needs met and do it with integrity. And you don't need to be an appointed leader to have such influence. If you're able to read this, chances are likely you have the power to influence others based not only on your reactions to others, but also in how you behave. So with every interaction we have a choice to have a positive or negative effect on the people around us. And we must choose wisely. The third way in which we have meaning in our lives, regardless of whether we intend to or not, is in our interaction with the environment. Now, we are intimately connected to nature, even if we aren't out in the woods. How? Well, the recent discovery of the microbiome is a great example of how connected we are. It turns out that our bodies are teeming with microbes. And we have so many of them that we actually have more bacterial cells than our own. I know that sounds gross, but it's true. And those bacteria influence our immune systems, our choice of food, our weight, our susceptibility to chronic disease, and even our mood. And what determines that makeup of our microbiome? Well, it's still an active area of research, but we know that our interaction with the soil, our food intake, our interaction with other people, with our pets, all have the capacity to influence our microbiome. And since bacteria is everywhere, in our air, our soil, our water, my guess is that everything we do, or don't do, influences our microbiome. Now, another way we affect the environment is in the cars we drive. They, as you know, the cars that we drive drain our remaining fossil fuels. And that exhaust affects our air quality. And air quality not only affects our lungs, but it can affect our mood, our risk of chronic diseases via increased oxidative stress. So know that all our choices in some way or other affect our environment and the creatures around us. And so we must choose wisely. The fourth way in which our lives are meaningful, whether we intend it to be or not, is in how we choose to spend our time. We can choose to spend our free time watching lots of TV or playing video games, or we could choose to spend it on issues that we care about. And while the latter isn't the easier choice, it's far more gratifying. We get to meet others who are and feel like a greater part of a community. Plus, knowing that we've done all we can to make a difference helps us feel good about ourselves. And when we model that good behavior, we inspire others to do the same. Similarly, the careers we choose impact how we feel about ourselves and others. And if we're not in alignment with our values, that can eat away at our hearts. And when we're in alignment with service and integrity, we get to feel good about those positive outcomes or contributions that we're making. Now, if you work in a large organization, you may not believe that what you do really matters that much. If that's a problem for you, you might want to either talk to your boss or a coworker and ask them to help them brainstorm as to what makes your job meaningful. Even a company that cancels a product you've worked hard on, it doesn't mean that what you've done isn't important. It just is that they haven't communicated it well. Not every job is going to succeed. However, if your company doesn't do a good job of communicating your value, you might want to work at a company that does. It'll help you feel better about yourself. So how we choose to spend our time matters, and we must choose wisely. Now, regardless of whether we isolate ourselves or choose to spend it with others, most choices we make in the world impact others. And if we choose to live a life that makes a positive difference to others, it helps us feel more connected to the world and our community, and it makes our lives so much more meaningful. Did you find this video to be meaningful? If so, could you press the social media buttons below and share it with your friends? I'd appreciate it. Thank you for joining me. I'm Dr. Tina, holistic brain health practitioner at Lifelong Enerjoy. Namaste.